One of the most fascinating moments for a game's audience is when the sequel to that game is introduced and the adventures of the previous version are to be followed, and the unanswered questions of the previous version are answered. Usually, the level of expectations of direct sequences is very high, especially if the previous version has left an extraordinary performance. This is the current description of God of War Ragnarok. After the not-so-interesting circumstances of this franchise after the Ascension version, audiences were expecting a magnificent comeback for the legendary Kratos, and this great comeback, coupled with the full transformation of the story, setting, fights and game structure, was so successful that the reboot version won the largest number of GOTY awards. After numerous successes in the title, it was sooner or later clear that the sequel would be made, and on the other hand it was quite clear that Kratos' work with the Norse gods was not over and setting the game would not change. But there's an important point in the middle. In the previous version, we witnessed events and cases that created a series of questions in the minds of the audience. Questions that we didn't get an answer to. In this video, we will mention things that I hope will be answered in the Ragnarok version. I don't think you've played God of War, and you haven't wondered why the game world is practically haunted and no humans or so-called mortal alive in Midgard and other realms. Niflheim's status is clear. Due to the deadly atmosphere of this realm, there is virtually no room for humans. Helheim is also the land of the dead and has a certain status. In the meantime, Muspelheim's voidness is a bit unreasonable. It is true that the temperature of this realm is always high, but at least we could see creatures with fiery capabilities. Even if we don't take this into account, it doesn't make much sense to say that Midgard is practically empty of humans and only Draugr, the Revenant and similar creatures are found in it. But how does the game itself justify this? First, the reason the giants escaped was their vast tinsel by Odin, and Thor in particular, to the point that they went to their realm, Jotunheim, and destroyed all means of communication. Second, since Odin troubled the Valkyries' task and the task of transferring the souls of the dead to Helheim and managing them was disrupted, many of them returned to Midgard and returned to life in the form of corrupted Draugr and slaughtered the rest. Third, the war of the gods of Aesir and Vanir in various fights caused everyone to flee. Fourth, what is referred to as desolation. According to in-game dialogues, its origin is unclear. It may have been Odin's work, and some theories point out that Kratos' actions in Greece and the massacre of the gods there could be the cause. By desolation, 9 realms are affected and the balance between the living and the dead and the bodies and spirits is disturbed and the world takes on a form of destruction. The reason for the return of Draugr and various creatures and monsters is the same. Given these interpretations, it makes sense to some extent that the game world is empty, but there is another problem. At the beginning of the game, Kratos and his son encounter a few humans who seem to be bandits and plan to hunt Kratos for his flesh. The conflict was included in the game for paying for Atreus' character as he transforms from an immaculate boy into a murderer and takes a human life. But unfortunately, logic is sacrificed here because we no longer see any human beings during the game, and it's as if the whole Midgard humans were the same as a few bandits. Despite all the dangers, diseases, different interactions, various wars and the return of the spirits, we could nevertheless see a handful of humans around the game who have survived thanks to hiding or staying away. But the whole characters in the game are the people the story needs. Brok and Sindri as blacksmiths and helpers, Freya as Baldur's mother, Mimir as a guide and various gods like Magni to deal with Kratos. Even game quest givers are ghosts. In the new version, it seems that the series will also hit the dwarf climate, Svartalfheim, and we'll see a new dwarf character in the trailer introducing the game. But it seems the game world will still be empty of different people. Don't forget we're going to see every 9 realms in God of War Ragnarok. So if we still see a world without personality and man or dwarfism, that's a little irrational. Personally, I hope that the game itself will address this issue and at least justify the reason the realms are empty. As a bottom line, it's not bad to know that the word Midgard means the land of men. But in the game, practically the gods and 2 dwarfs were present in this realm. As mentioned in the game, Odin spelled her out using the magic he had learned from Freya herself, and he can no longer fight and does not have the ability to fight directly or even defend herself. But we know that one of God of War Ragnarok's main antagonists is Freya, who seeks revenge on her son, albeit personally. I suspect he might be out of the enemy front late in the Freya game. In the game trailer, we practically witnessed the clash between Kratos and Freya, and we also know that Freya has reclaimed her wings. Now the question arises here. Has Odin removed Freya's spell personally so she can go to the battle of Kratos, or has Freya herself found a way to get around this? In any case, the more logical possibility seems to be that Freya is once again working with Odin for the common purpose, and Odin has also temporarily disabled her spell, at least temporarily. When Atreus fell ill and the fearful Kratos took him to Freya's house, when he boarded the lift, the World Serpent trumpet sounded, indicating that the person or persons wanted to talk to him. But here's the thing, as mentioned during the game, the language that World Serpent speaks is practically incomprehensible, and it's only Mimir who can speak to him through his unparalleled knowledge. So whoever's blown in the trumpet understands the language of World Serpent. On the other hand, it is obvious that none of Asgard's gods are in the trumpet, and therefore the search circle becomes smaller. I personally believe that a giant has definitely summoned him, and that person may even come from the future. It is clear that the inclusion of this event in the previous version was a prelude to the introduction of a particular character or event. Many also speculate that the most likely was Angerboda blown in the trumpet, the same young girl we saw in the trailer and in Norse legends as Loki's wife. Given World Serpent's friendly relationship with the characters in the story, it can be concluded that anyone blown in the trumpet will be allied with Kratos and Atreus in this game. At the end of the previous game, we saw that Faye and other giants, in fact, knew exactly about the future of the adventure of Kratos and Atreus and portrayed these events using graffiti. One of these graffiti, which was displayed for a few seconds, featured a scene where Kratos is injured or dead in Atreus's arms. Now we need to see what the meaning of this wall was. Logically, the probability of Kratos being killed is 0, because it is known that after Ragnarok, this franchise will go to other lands and gods. However, since the giants knew about the future, the authenticity of this little writing wall might disturb our imagination. It is likely to be severely injured during the Ragnarok version of Kratos, and this graffiti also refers to it.